In the United States of America, you can buy a pound of industrially raised chicken for around $2.50. But that same chicken, same eggs, can also come in versions that cost nearly $12.50 per pound. That's 5 times the price. And the most surprising part? People are lining up to buy it, without a single complaint. So, what's the secret behind these pricey eggs and cuts of chicken? What makes consumers willing to pay more and such a premium? Could this be the quiet movement that's starting to reshape American agriculture as we know it? To find the answer, we'll step away from the familiar sight of industrial farms, where chickens spend their entire lives confined in a cage, eating commercial feed, and never once seeing the light of day. Instead, let's step into a completely different world, one where the chickens are free to roam across wide open pastures, scratching the soil and soaking up the sun. Just imagine this. On a vast open pasture, hundreds of chickens are roaming freely under the sky. They peck at the grass, forage for bugs, and live as nature intended. No cramped cages, no antibiotics, no growth hormones. This is pasture-raised model of chickens, raised the way they were meant to be. A method that not only produces a superior quality product, but also tells a completely different story about the life of poultry. The poultry industry is a major part of American agriculture. Every year, it generates over $46 billion in revenue, with billions of chickens raised and sold to market. Most of these come from industrial farms, where chickens are raised in enclosed barns and grow at an extremely rapid pace within just a few weeks. However, things are moving in a different direction. A new trend is emerging. From Oregon to North Carolina and Texas, more and more farmers are turning to raising chickens outdoors. As of now, the US has around 750 officially recognized pasture-raised farms. Over the past 5 years, the number of these farms has increased by more than 60% in some states. Why are they making the switch? Is this just a passing trend or a genuine, more effective way of farming? At pasture-raised chicken farms, the chickens live on open grassy fields, foraging on natural grains, insects, and nearby plants. They grow slower than chickens raised in factory farms. Pasture-raised chickens tend to take around 12 to 14 weeks to reach market weight. By contrast, on industrial farms, chickens can reach up to 5 pounds in just 38 days. But what's the trade-off? Chickens never see the light of day, live in cramped cages. Every day they grow up till their spines become weaker, their lungs become weaker, and their flesh becomes flabby, because they do not walk around. The difference isn't just in how long the chickens are raised, it's in how we define real food quality. To raise chickens on pasture, the first step is choosing the right breed. Not all chickens are suited for this model. Some industrial breeds, even though they grow quickly, are too fragile to live outdoors. They can't handle the sun, aren't used to moving around, and are highly prone to diseases. That's why farmers who raise chickens on pasture typically choose breeds that are hardy and active. The two most common breeds used are the Red Ranger and the Freedom Ranger. Not everyone gets it right from the start. Some farmers new to the pasture-raised model initially choose industrial meat breeds, thinking faster growth means more profit. But after just a few days, when the chickens start collapsing in corners, visibly weak, they begin to die off one by one. Industrial chickens are simply not used to moving around. They can't handle sunlight, and they don't know how to forage for food on their own. Selecting the right breed is the first step towards building a healthy flock, and it's the foundation for success in the pasture-raised model. Once you have the right chickens, the next step is preparing the land, specifically setting up a clean, vibrant and safe pasture. Farmers don't just let the chickens loose on a field. They have to carefully choose the right plot of land, clear weeds thoroughly, rotate grazing areas regularly to prevent chickens from ingesting feces or contaminated grass. Every square foot of ground matters. If chickens walk over the same spot too often, the grass dies. If waste builds up, the environment becomes dirty, increasing the risk of foot problems or digestive illnesses. That's why farmers divide the pasture into smaller sections and use mobile fencing to move the flock to a new area each day. On average, half a hectare of land can support around 500 to 600 chickens. That's enough space for them to scratch the soil, graze on grass, and roam freely, without destroying the surrounding environment. The coop also needs to be mobile and moved daily. Every morning, farmers get up early, check the direction of the sun, and pull the coop to a fresh area, before setting up the feeders again. Each move is like starting from scratch, not because they're being overly meticulous, but because it's the only way to keep the flock healthy. Not everyone gets to see the very first stage of raising a flock. Right after hatching, the chicks aren't sent straight out into the pasture. Instead, they're placed in what's called a brooder, a closed, climate-controlled space with heat lamps, clean water, and easily digestible feed. The first 2 weeks, known as the brooding period, are a matter of life and death. Just one cold night or a single heat lamp failure could wipe out half the flock. During this stage, farmers often get less sleep than new parents caring for a newborn. Changing bedding daily, monitoring each chick closely, and staying up past midnight just to make sure they're still drinking water. If a chick isn't strong enough to thrive here, it won't survive out in the pasture later. Once the chicks are strong and have built a stable immune system, they're then released outdoors, beginning to live life like a real chicken. On their first day out, the flock may still seem a little confused. But within minutes, their instincts kick in. They start scratching the grass, running around, pecking at bugs, and foraging on their own. Still, even with the freedom of the open pasture, the flock is far from self-sufficient. Farmers still need to provide supplemental feed, usually organic grains, to make sure each chicken gets the nutrition it requires. In the morning, chickens roam freely across the pasture, but by late afternoon, the farmer herds them back to the coop to rest, both to protect them from predators and to maintain a consistent daily routine. This is where the pasture-raised model truly comes to life. There are no automatic machines, no remote-controlled systems, just patience, knowledge, and the tireless footsteps of the farmer. Once the chickens are out on pasture, the farmer's job doesn't get any easier. In fact, it becomes even more complex. Every morning, they check the feed and water, before carefully watching for anything unusual. Is that bird looking sluggish? Is this one isolating itself? Has any bird noticeably lost weight? When the sun gets too intense, they set up tent shades for the chickens. When it rains too much, they move the coop to drier grounds. And all of it is done by hand. They minimise the use of medications, only vaccinating when absolutely necessary. Instead, they mix natural ingredients like garlic, ginger, and herbs into the feed, as a way to naturally boost the chicken's immune system. At some farms in Australia, farmers even spray herbal-based disinfectants to regularly keep the environment clean, without disrupting the chicken's natural microbiome. Over the summer, many states across the US, especially in Texas, can get unimaginably hot. Outdoor temperatures can soar past 104 degrees Fahrenheit, with heat radiating off the ground, drying up the grass, and making the air feel suffocating. At a farm in Texas, during just one 3-day heat wave, over 150 chickens died from heat stress. Even though the coop was moved every morning and the water troughs were always full. The farmer has only been away from the farm for 2 hours, and by the time they returned, a large number of chickens had already passed. When the hens reach maturity, their egg-laying cycle begins, and this is the one most closely monitored by the farmers. Inside the coop, farmers build wooden nesting boxes, placed in quiet, dry corners and filled with clean straw. The hens naturally seek out these spots to lay their eggs. No force, no artificial lighting, and no stimulants required. On average, each hen can lay between 250 and 300 eggs per year, if properly cared for. Each day, farmers collect the eggs by hand. Any eggs that are cracked, dirty, or unusually small are set aside. Eggs that meet quality standards are stored in cold conditions between 45 and 55 degrees Fahrenheit before being labelled for traceability. If the farm meets all the required process standards, the eggs can be certified with the USDA organic label. The eggs are then packed in recycling paper cartons or plastic trays with shock-absorbing padding, ready to be shipped to supermarkets and local markets. Each egg, though it may seem simple, is the result of a highly meticulous care system, from the environment and feed to the weather itself. After the eggs are collected, sorted, and labelled, farmers move on to the final step, getting them to market. It might sound simple, but in reality, it's one of the most critical parts of the process. If the eggs aren't kept at the right temperature, or if they're jostled too much during transport, their quality can drop significantly. In some cases, the yolk can discolour and the shell might crack in a way that isn't visible to the naked eye. For meat chickens, when they reach around 20 to 25 weeks of age and weigh between 4 to 5.5 pounds, farmers begin planning for harvest. The collection usually takes place in the early morning or late afternoon, when the weather is coolest. This timing helps to reduce stress, making the birds easier to handle and lowers the risk of injury. The farmer gathers the flock into a designated area before using specialised tools to catch each bird. No grabbing the wings, no tossing into crates. Each bird is gently lifted and placed into a well-ventilated basket or container, carefully avoiding breaking bones or bruising the meat. The gentle handling isn't just about compassion, it's because meat quality heavily depends upon how the birds are caught and transported. Once the right number of chickens are gathered, they're loaded onto a specialised climate-controlled truck and begin the journey to the processing factory. The slaughterhouses must be licensed, inspected, and follow strict sanitation protocols. Once the truck arrives, processing begins immediately. To ensure the entire process takes no more than 2 hours from the time the chickens leave the farm. The chickens are first placed in a stunning area using cold air or low voltage electricity to minimise stress. Then they are quickly bled, plucked, and their organs are sorted before their carcasses are thoroughly cleaned. After that, the meat goes through a rapid chilling system to bring the temperature below 40 degrees Fahrenheit, helping to slow bacterial growth and preserve freshness. Finally, the chicken is packaged and labelled for traceability before being clearly marked with the expiration date, origin and weight, then placed on cold storage or shipped out for distribution. Every chicken that reaches the consumer is the result of a carefully controlled process, on par with the standards of premium food production. The pasture-raised model brings significantly higher profits than compared to industrial farming. According to statistics, profits can increase by 30 to 50%, thanks to higher prices for eggs and meat and the strong consumer trust in the quality of these products. There's consistent demand for these products. They're sold in health food stores, local farm co-ops, and even appear on the menus of upscale restaurants. However, not everyone is able to pursue this farming model. Why not? Because raising chickens this way requires more land, more effort, and a work schedule that rarely allows for rest. At this farm in southern Texas, each half acre could only support around 500 chickens. During the summer, temperatures can reach over 100 degrees Fahrenheit, forcing farmers to move the coop every day to avoid heat stress. On hot days, they worry the chickens will overheat. And on rainy days, they fear the chickens will get cold feet. Uneven grass growth, hardened soil, or lack of water can also pose serious challenges. This isn't a chicken farming model for those in a hurry. It's for people who are willing to go slow, stay steady, and hold on to their belief in the true value of clean, honest agriculture.